Woo! There's meant to be credits.
Guys, I'm gonna give just a quick note about the space. We are gonna do about a 30-minute chat. Loie and Emma, if you want. There's more.
Credits.
Not sure what I Yeah. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah, amazing.
We're going to do a little chat up here for about 30 minutes, then they're going to bring up some food, and then we have about an hour to hang out together, and then at 5 p.m. That's it. That's the
Deadline.
You want to come up here?
Yeah. Hi everyone. Yeah, of course. We're going to do Q&A as well.
Actually. People must need the toilet by now.
Yeah. Should we give them a few minutes? No, we're going to get
we
into it.
gotta get quick on.
Alright, cool.
Chat.
We've got to chat quick. We're on strict deadline. Do you want to do Q&A as well, right? Yeah, cool, fine. Should we get tall chairs or standard chairs?
I think, standard chairs, so we're on
Cool. I'll just take 2 of these.
You can steal
I should keep that on there. What side do you want to be on?
I'll sit on your way.
Okay. So Emma and I. Popo.
They're here for you.
It's like out now, it's free. They're all free.
You're good.
Can you get a picture of us, please?
Right.
Moeen's going to ask a couple questions and then we're going to do Q&A.
Oh, we should.
I'm not sure if I
We
just
should
said
be
that.
videoing this.
I'm making a video. There's actually right behind you, sir, the camera. There's a little camera set up there. Yeah, I can send you the video as well if you want.
Yeah.
It's gonna be about 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, it's going to be about 30 minutes long, so don't worry.
Yeah, I've got a camera there. Yeah, just behind Del. The camera.
Oh, I'm gonna go to Emma now.
Oh yeah, cool, fine. Alright, we'll wait a sec.
Alright, I'm gonna scoot right.
I know, I'm just like, oh, where am I meant to look?
Tea, water?
You've got some water, Emma?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, cool, perfect. Alrighty, I think we're going to begin our little panel talk now. Before we even start the talking, I think they both deserve a massive round of applause again, please. Yeah, make it accessible. That was fantastic, moving. I think you were both amazing. I didn't realize Sid was going to have a cameo in it herself. Talk about a cameo superstar. Initially, questions. First thing I noticed was the people that were involved were so powerful, cool, funny, interesting, and obviously you guys are in it as well. So my initial thought was like, how were you able to find people to kind of tell your story, Sid, that you thought would be able to kind of represent it in a light that you want it to be represented in? And I suppose the follow-up question would be to you, Emma, what was the process like for you to be involved? But I think we'll start with Sid first.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had to throw a really wide net to find people. We were very lucky to find Emma. She sat as our kind of, as you may have noticed in the film, really big contrast of what it is like to be a parent with a disability. And so you are the hero of our film from our eyes because, in so many ways, you really demonstrated for us the message that we were trying to parlay, which was that non-disabled parents of disabled children often make these fucking insane choices because they think that they're improving their children's lives, and then our contrast
It's a
is
healthy hatred of disability.
right, exactly. They think they have a healthy hatred for disability, and then you are standing exactly opposite in that, being disabled yourself, and then, you know, what we want to show in the film is, of course, Cody as well, like showing how much more capable you are of not only raising a disabled child, but raising children. And so we kind of had to reach out to just anyone that had been outspoken in any way about their involvement with disability. And when
So
you
it was
see-
my big mouth that got
It
me.
was that we said we should talk to her. But that was it. I mean, we really scraped the internet. We went through Facebook groups. We reached out to people that we know in the community as well.
You found Melissa and Aviva.
Yeah, yeah. And luckily that story was told for us. The beginning of this production was Dylan, my production partner, and I, you know, obviously Dylan and I are producers, and our production company is the platform for telling this story. The story is told by a journalist from MSNBC, which is a network in the US, and her story is about her wanting to have a child herself and asking, effectively, does she want to have a disabled child? So first Dylan and I had to find somebody that wanted to tell that kind of story. And what we found over about a year and a half of looking was just perfect match for storyteller, perfect match for hero of the story, and many perfect matches for villains who think they're curing disability.
Yeah, no, I think honestly you guys have to be commended for, yeah, it was just told so beautifully, and the research and the time taken to find people to be able to articulate that, I think just, yeah, it deserves a lot of recognition. Emma, yourself, so obviously you were probably reached out by Sid or the team. What was it like for you being asked to be in a feature like this, and what was your thought process when you were accepting to be on it? Because obviously you've got to be quite...
Expose the bastards. That's what my thought was.
Because I was going to say, you've got to be...
Subtle as always, Emma.
Yeah.
Because you have to be quite vulnerable, right? You're opening up, you're letting them into your house, your family and stuff like that.
I've
So
had rape threats, death threats. I've had a bullet sent to my house. I've had a tablet with encrypted files on it that the police seized that was sent.
oh my days.
Free
Yeah.
tablet? You said?
No, it was a Windows tablet, but it had,
Oh,
it
useless
only
then.
had my address on it. It didn't have, you know, who had sent it. There was no instructions, no charger. So I turned it on. It wanted a passcode. So I called the police, and they said that what was on it was so distressing that they were not willing to tell me what was on it.
Oh my God.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's being part of the film is so important. And I think you've done a wonderful job. You've shown a scope of different disabilities, and that was very, very needed.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was an honour to be in it.
For yourself as well, obviously, like you're so candid on it. You got your whole family. I think some of your family's here as well today.
Yeah.
What was it like being in something like this with your family? Because again, this is the people you've reared, that you gave birth to, that you've been protecting your entire life. And again, you don't know what the world is going to say, you know. So
Fuck people. That's my yeah. Whenever the kids are worried or, you know, thinking, oh, they might think this might fuck people. That's my motto. I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to put out.
That's you the whole movie. My favorite line in the movie is you saying, you know, moms want to raise their cheerleaders and Brad becomes an athlete. I laugh every single time. Watched it a million times. I still love it. Yeah, it's perfect.
I think you've kind of mentioned like your thoughts on what people might have to say. But what kind of impact do you hope this film can have on people who may be out there, who may be a bit isolated or vulnerable?
Let's hope that it opens some eyes and educates some parents who are thinking, you know, oh my God, my child's disabled, it's so sad, what can we do? Actually, your child is just as worthy of as anybody else of having a life that's inclusive, you know, that empowers them. Don't disempower them by saying, oh, you're disabled and you can't do this and you can't do that, because you're never going to know what people can do unless you give them the opportunity.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Again, now, so you said, obviously, you're producers, you and Dylan, and this is a character-led story. You have to really focus on their stories and what they're doing. But again, you guys are producers. You have to stick to budgets and timelines and things like that. So I wonder what the process was like for you to allow the story to flow and people, you know, let themselves be candid and authentic on camera whilst having to balance all of these kind of red tapes and all this kind of stuff in the background. What was that whole process like for you guys?
Yeah. Well, luckily Emma was very authentic right away. I think the scene where you are yelling
At the building.
it's like the first thing we shot with you.
Yeah, it was.
So, yeah, that was helpful, and that was also early in our shooting for the film. So it kind of helped us figure out how to unlock what people really want to say. The part that was difficult, I think, for us as like two disabled producers was letting Liz, a non-disabled person, tell this story.
Liz not ADHD.
She has ADHD.
Yeah.
She does not identify as disabled.
Okay.
That's a whole other can of worms. Yeah, but you know, she and I think what she struggled with in shooting was like people would ask her, "Are you disabled?" And she was, you know, still dealing with her own disclosure in that moment. So I maybe just outed her. Or you outed her. That's fine.
I did that, Liz. Thank you.
No, I mean, yeah, that was not the big issue, but it was like for us, somebody who didn't have an identity that they proudly associated with disability, telling the story. And so what was tough was trying to get a lot of people that you see in the movie to be the voices that we needed and to tell the story about pride within the community and wanting to be disabled and not let the voices of non-disabled people and crazy parents overshadow that. And so I think actually like all of our interviewees were incredible and ready to talk about their experiences, and I think it's something that it, you know, hits so deeply your experience as a disabled person that when somebody finally says like, can you tell me about that honestly, you know, so many people are ready to speak honestly to that. So Liz was the problem mostly.
Now, obviously, there are clips in the doc where you've got people like Trump, for example, and other nutters like talking about disability and mocking it and saying it like it's a negative impact on society. But I definitely feel like we're slowly gearing towards and going towards a much more accepting society with the younger generation.
You think so?
You hope so as well. You'd like to hope so. And obviously the older people are slowly dying out, so the methods, hopefully their thought processes will go with them as well. But I just wonder, I'd love for you both to answer this. Do you think that the sentiment towards disabled people is slowly shifting with the new generation, like millennials?
I think maybe with the generation, but with government, no.
Yeah.
Because before RFK said it, I always said it, the government does not want to invest in children that they do not believe will be taxpayers. That's why they're cutting back on early health care plans and all the other things that's happening over here. They do not want to put money into kids that they do not believe will be a return investment. And that's fucked.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. It's the worst discrimination you can, you know, saying to a child, you're going to go into a mainstream school because we don't deem you with high enough needs to be given more support. So we're not going to bother investing in you. We're not going to do anything for you, actually. And most of the kids that we have that come to my organisation, our organisations, playgroups and stuff, have been pulled out of school because of bullying by teachers and you know, and they're not feeling included. They're not feeling that they are wanted, and that's a horrible way to feel.
Oi. We're going to keep going.
Maybe because it's alarming.
Yeah,
It's an alarming thing.
No, but you mentioned your organisation. I'm sure a lot of people do know, but for those who don't, I would love for you just to touch upon it, like what you do, if people want to get involved,
sure.
or just like share a little bit about that. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, we're called Autistic Inclusive Meets. I've got, how many directors are here? 5? 5 of us, I think. 6.
Hey.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
So the whole
6.
squad.
Yeah. So we're all autistic ourselves. All our volunteers are autistic. All our patrons and ambassadors are autistic. And we decided, you know, that we needed something for neurodivergent kids, teens, and adults to come to because it's not always inclusive in other places. We do social groups, sensory groups. We are partnered with Charlton Athletic Community Trust.
Amazing.
Yeah, so we do football sessions and boxing sessions and adult groups. We do everything.
Amazing.
We also go out and campaign and protest and be a general pain in the arse to
As it should be,
society.
yeah, as it should be. And was that something that was that something you were doing before this doc? How long has it been going on for?
I started AIM autistic inclusive meets because my youngest son was diagnosed.
Okay.
And as someone else on there said, you know, you look at your child and you don't think there's anything different. I think that was me that said that. It was me. You don't see anything different because to you it's your normal. In your household, you know, all the things that were, you know, the kids were doing were my normal because I used to do it when I was younger. And when he was diagnosed, I went and, you know, inquired about myself. I was diagnosed. My daughter's recently been diagnosed. My grandson is diagnosed. You know, some are self-diagnosed. Because it is very hard to get a diagnosis, and people don't realise it's natural privilege to have one because it is so hard to get one. And he was badly treated in school, so I pulled him out of school and started home educating, and I was taking him to home ed meetups that were meant to be inclusive but weren't. The kids were still as judgmental, the parents were still as horrible, so that's why we opened AIM.
Good for you, man, honestly. I think sometimes you get put in a position where nothing's available out there for you, and you just have to be the person that kind of is the flag bearer.
If you can't find it, make it.
And honestly, it takes massive courage and a big step for you to do that, because a lot of people will just sit and not do much. So I fancy you big up to you, man, honestly. I want to kind of direct a similar question to Sid in terms of like sentiment towards disabled people, but also off the back of this, do you hope that that will also educate some people that may not be aware or just simply in their own bubble and don't accept that these people do exist, disabled people do exist, and that they deserve to be, you know, treated exactly as everyone else is?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, you can see from my last scene in the film, like, I don't think a lot has changed. There's, like, for us in the US, there's kind of like a major turning point in disability rights, which was in the 90s when we signed something called the Americans with Disabilities Act. And that was massive. That said everything that is public in the United States has to be accessible to wheelchair users, to deaf people, to people with autism. And so it's incredible because it's civil rights legislation, which is very different than the way disability has been looked at before. It says disabled people are equal and recognized in the law as equal participants. Since that was passed 2 years before I was born. So since then, there has never been a massive improvement in the way disabled people are treated or included, at least from my perspective in life. And I think we have a lot of data that reflects that as well. The other piece in the film is the politician that says people with autism are burdens to their family. They're never gonna go to the toilet by themselves. They're never gonna play baseball. Like, all of these absolutely random, arbitrary.
Never gonna write a poem.
They're never gonna write a poem. Could you, right now for us, disprove him? Show poem? No, but that happened, for us that happened a year ago, I think, that RFK, his name is, that he said that so publicly, and I think that is a perfect way of seeing that no, perceptions of disability have not changed. Like, he doesn't give a fuck that the Americans with Disabilities Act passed. He, I don't even know what his point was about talking about people with autism, like, to kill them, or
wipe them out.
Wipe them out, right? Yeah, exactly. But he's on his own page, but so I mean, our purpose in filmmaking is to really ignite that critical mass that says disabled people do hold a much lesser position in society, and that is a primary issue that I, as an individual, need to participate in. I want to do something about that. I see people in a sheltered workshop making $12 a month, and I recognize that that is a fundamental issue that needs to be solved.
I also wonder, it would be cool for people who may not have been like on a film set before, on a production, just to give us like a little breakdown of what the entire process was like, from like, in terms of the timeline. So obviously we're watching this now, but I'm sure there's a lot of, you've had a couple hairstyles in the movie, you know what I'm saying? So there must have been like, what was the timeline like from the inception of the idea to like getting the green light, to filming, and obviously I'm guessing like someone might have been in COVID or something, so you had to take time off, like, just so people have an idea of like what it takes to create something like that.
Yeah, well, documentaries are notoriously long projects, and you don't put a timeline on them.
Okay.
With a regular film, you say we have $10 million and we have 2 years to shoot. With a documentary, you say we have no money and 10 years. So this, from inception, from when we started shooting to now, it's been 5 years. So yeah, it's definitely, documentary is always an enormous endeavor to get into.
Well, it was worth every year for Guns because that was amazing, honestly. So the world needs to see it, I think. So hopefully we can get that happening. I know you guys are showing it in a couple of weeks, and hopefully that will continue. I have another question. Oh, do we have enough time for Q's and A's?
I think we should.
Q&A. All right, we're gonna skip my last question. We're gonna open it up to everybody here. Please, if you've got any questions, we've got 2 hands up straight away. Please do go ahead and ask. I don't know who put a hand up first. Thumb more to the. Okay.
Yeah, I've known Emma for a couple of years, or 4 years now.
Wow.
First time I met Emma. I have to say, Emma is just one of the most supportive people on this planet.
Oh.
Definitely. She's the best out of me. Just one thing that actually really annoyed me with that woman who kind of cheated to get
Yeah.
some time.
Yeah.
That really, really, really annoyed me because, you know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. There was no social, well, there was autism, but it wasn't. The diagnosis would have been you had to be, and I hate using this phrase, please forgive me, Emma, but at the more severe end of autism. And, you know, my parents, or my mum, didn't want that stain on the family. And I actually felt that woman was stealing from people who really needed it. And it just made me so angry.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you saying that. I mean, she is the villain of our film, along with a few other people.
Yeah.
And that creepy guy with the
Creepy guy. Yeah, that was just creepy looking. Yeah, she's kind of laughably self-aware about how bad she is, right? Like she's like, oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she thought it was funny.
Privilege.
She's like, oh, I guess this is what you call privilege. Like it occurs to her for the first time that there are other people and the world is not focused on her. And she's really useful in our film because she elicits a lot of anger and she exposes how ignorant people are and can be and the decisions that they make. Yeah.
You had a question?
Yeah. I'm going to try and frame this as a question, but it's more waffles. So
We love waffles.
Yeah, I love waffle. I think one of the standout moments in the film for me was, and I can't remember his name, but when he said that the thing with the discrimination you face as a disabled person is so often it doesn't come from hate, it comes from love. And I want to really applaud you for kind of addressing that. I think in a lot of ways, the families and parents of disabled people are very much venerated. They're untouchable. You can't, and they have the voice.
Right.
And I think that, and we've seen it here with, I've seen a lot of people on social media supporting cuts to disability benefits are family members and parents. We've seen the Prime Minister of the UK talking about his disabled brother whilst trying to put disabled people into poverty. So I was wondering if you could kind of expand on kind of actually bringing that into the documentary and talking about it and saying actually no, the parents of disabled people are not untouchable, and sometimes the parents and family of disabled people can do the most harm to disabled people.
Yeah.
I wanted to thank you for including that because there could be backlash to it, but talk about a little bit about kind of including that and that as a
Yeah. Thank you for that waffle. Appreciate it. It was the central focus of the film and worked out because the way that parenthood works in this discourse is that it represents the repetition of an ideology, right? And so a parent as an older generation is the inheritance of an ideology. And what we wanted to show here was that it is those parents who are giving their children bleach and who are also making the woman that we all hated, her name, I'm sorry. I always think it's also Emma, it's Molly, actually. The woman we all hate. No, Molly, like it's also her parents who encourage her to fake her disability. And as she says, like everyone in her private school, it was their parents who told them to fake a disability. And so what we were, giving up in terms of agency. For us, through our production company, we always want a story to be told by a disabled person, but Liz acting as this kind of demonstration of somebody interested in parenthood, interested in repeating another generation of ideology, worked to say, the ideology that we have is parents upholding negative systems and torturing their children, hurting their children, like being the active participants of ableism. So I'm sorry you experienced that, but glad that it really hit for you in the film. But I think you could also speak to that a bit as well, like the role of parents in all of these decisions.
What with the bleach?
With Bleach particularly, but I think also like in terms of, non-disabled people parenting disabled children.
Okay, so you've got a stereotypical, neurotypical couple who have a disabled child, and the first thing they're going to think of is, how can we fix this? We didn't sign up for this. Whereas if you've got a disabled parent who gives birth to a disabled child, they're not going to think like that. And the majority, they're not going to think like that. And the parents that I have gone undercover speaking to, to get their addresses, to find out, their phone numbers, to report them to the police and social services, I've gone under with the sort of attitude that, oh God, this is so dreadful, they're never going to be able to do this or do that, and we need to save them because the world is so horrible, and, they're not going to be included, and when I'm gone, who's going to look after them? And a lot of these quacks will use that sort of rhetoric on parents, oh my goodness, what's going to happen when you're gone? But if you use this bleach and shove it up your child's rectum, they're going to be fine.
Right.
And you have to worry, you have to wonder, I'm sorry, you do. Like, I've heard so many times, these poor parents are so vulnerable. Fuck them, because what about the child that's shivering on the floor after having an enema? While their parent, rinses it all out and puts it on a paper plate to put on Facebook to say, here's a penny to show how thick it is, here's a ruler to show how thick how long it is. We're battering autism, we're fighting autism, and it's like, what the fuck?
Right.
That's your child. Right. You gave birth to that child. You should be doing everything to lift them up, empower them, encourage them, love them. Where is it? Where is that? Just because they happen to be disabled.
Right.
If you are going to get pregnant and give birth, you've got to understand that your child could be disabled, they could be gay, they could be an arsehole, they could be a pedophile. You've got to think about all the things that could possibly come with being a parent. You've got to think about all those things. That's it.
It's 4:08. One more question.
I think we could. Yeah.
We got another question? Hey.
Hi. The film reminds me of thinking about the scope of violence against persons with disabilities, and specifically looking at like what are seen as these kind of corrective measures, and how there are so many parallels between those and violence that has and still is meted out against LGBTQI communities, for example, in terms of like conversion therapy. And I was thinking about if there's ways we can learn from campaigns that have been successfully brought against banning conversion therapy from a rights perspective, like how we can kind of see all of our historic interconnections in terms of our oppressions to move forward that dial. It also made me think about forced sterilization, whether that's of trans individuals or persons with disabilities, which is sort of the other side of the pendulum, trying to stop the progeny of disability and so forth. Or, for example, I'm a sex worker rights advocate, and oftentimes what we see is at the heart of what's known as whorephobia, which is the system of hatred and violence against sex workers, is fear of disability, because it's about stopping this assumed spread of disease onto the general population. So I guess I'm just thinking about the extreme spread of anti-rights rhetoric, how we can, all of our different communities, come together to stop what is going on in terms of rollback of human rights, whether that's anti-trans measures being passed, things around cuts and crackdowns for disability benefits and so forth. And what do you see as being how we move forward in this particular moment where all of our collective rights are up for
Can you
grabs?
answer it, please? Please take it away.
So it's I'm glad you asked, because there's something called applied behavioural analysis or positive behaviour support, which is derived from conversion therapy, and it's being rolled out as the gold standard, even though it doesn't hit the NIC guidelines. In America, it's particularly prevalent. It's become more sought after and provided in the UK. There's Ambitious About Autism. They have colleges and schools that are ABA schools. You've got National Autistic Society, all these big charities that are getting thousands and thousands of pounds that are providing positive behaviour support and ABA.
Right.
And it's again like quackery, because the parents are told, your child has to learn to comply, they have to learn to live in society. What's going to happen when you're gone? And it is literally, I don't know if you know about ABA, but it's telling a child, well, first of all, the therapist will come around, and if it's in a school, they'll come to school for a week. If it's private at home, they'll come to the home, and they'll ingratiate themselves to the child. They'll find out their hobbies and their likes and dislikes and triggers, and then they'll use those against them to make them comply. So if their favourite thing is, say, a teddy, they will take that teddy away for 1 minute. They'll take it away and they'll say, do this chore, and if you do it right, you can have it back for 1 minute. Then they'll take it away again to reinforce and get the behaviour that they want to get. And if they don't get the behaviour they want to get, they do something called a planned ignoring, which is if a child is distressed or self-injurious and becomes frustrated, you ignore them until they comply and provide the behaviour that the therapist wants to see. I don't call them therapists, I call them abusers.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do you have an idea about how we come
I think that coming to places like this and having these conversations and this discourse is a good
Spreading
start, to be honest.
education.
Yeah, like films like this, showing that to people, being here amongst everybody, talking about it, and then obviously down the line you have to start to figure out action plans, who you're able to contact, and worst comes to worst, you got to do a bit of disruption, because that's the only way to kind of get heard and seen. Do you know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, no one anywhere at any time got anywhere by being peaceful, So there has to be a bit of disruption, but hopefully it doesn't get to that. But like I said, I think coming to spaces like this, being amongst people that are doing things in the movement, and just like surrounding yourself with that is a good start, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the time we have.
Yeah, that's all the time we have. Can we have another round of applause? Before we carry on, I think it'll be good if you guys don't know people, just to talk to each other. Surround yourself with others you don't know. And yeah, man, big up to... Can we have a round of applause for Dylan, the Cripple Productions team as well, for Sid, Jam, Del, for putting it together as well. Woo!
Thank you all for coming.
Oh, amazing. Well done, guys. Congratulations. Nice bit.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. Oh.
I heard you.
You did such a good job. Congratulations.
Well done, as always, you superstar.
Thank you.
I didn't know you were going to be in that film. You were good, you were
didn't
great.
either.
Little cameo. At first I was like cameo, then I was like, she's a bit more than a cameo.
No, that's why the first shooting with me is me in the car, which is why I'm like